This is the visionary Von Vertigo, and you're listening to Count It Out with Mike and Tyler.
What's up? This is El Diablo Gabriel Fuerza, and you're watching Count It Out with Mike and Tyler.
Listening to Count It Out with Mike and Tyler.
Well, we are live, pals, and welcome to another edition of the Bill Apter Seal of Approved Count It Out with Mike and Tyler. My name is Tyler, and I am not joined by Mike this week. Oh no, I am joined by the owner and promoter of Barrie Wrestling, getting ready to celebrate 10 years this Saturday, November the 2nd. That would be Mr. Shawn Gibson. Shawn, what's going on, man?
How's it going, buddy? Thanks for doing this. This is awesome.
I always love when you come on. It's always fun to shoot the shit. I almost screwed up my entrance there. I felt like I was recording one of my rush hour event centers where it takes me about 15 takes to just do a 3-second little segment there. But
that rush hour thing is awesome, man. You and Mike Jeffries have done so good with that.
I'm really loving it, and I think the feedback that I've heard at least has been pretty positive for everybody. We can plug that Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. I believe that goes out.
Yeah.
And it's just such a fun and great way to show the great footage that we've got shot and a lot of the great action that Barrie Wrestling has to offer, right?
Absolutely.
Well, 10 years, man. Can you believe that? Like, that's crazy.
It's 10 years. Obviously doing a lot of reminiscing lately and just thinking about like the things that have happened over 10 years and promotions that have come and gone over 10 years. And we, for whatever reason, who cares? But it's just like, holy smoke. I did not think that Barrie Wrestling would still be here. Did not expect that.
So what's the secret, Shawn? What's going on up in the water up here in Barrie that just keep hanging around?
I think what I think it is I honestly think it's the way we conduct ourselves here. We're not I'm always out with the fans. I'm in the back here and there, but I'm out with the fans, chatting with them. I see them in town all the time. I'm not just a guy that I don't just run a promotion in different cities and I'm never there. Like, I'm on the ground in the city and at the shows, just chatting up with people. And I think what happens too with companies is, and from what I've heard is, staff gets disgruntled. They're not being taken seriously, or they're not listened to, or they're not appreciated. And I think we do that here. I think everybody knows they got a voice. Maybe an idea they have won't be heard, or it will be heard, but maybe it's not used. But everybody's got a voice, and I honestly think that anybody who's a part of the crew has had an idea that we've actually used. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I've not used somebody's ever. So yeah, I think that's what it is. Keeping the fans happy and feeling that they're part of it, and keeping the crew happy and part of it.
Absolutely, and I can speak for that firsthand. It's we've been part of Barrie Wrestling for just over 4 years now, I think, with or we're the beginning of our 4th year, I think, with you guys, and right from day one, even before we talked our first show that we showed up, just being welcomed by everybody. It was they didn't know us from a hole in the wall. It was our first independent show that we'd gone to as a podcast, and I won't mention his name because he's probably the biggest heel in the company right now, but a certain somebody was very gracious and welcoming, and it's gone there. And the friendships that we've formed through Barrie Wrestling, getting to know you better, and friendship I've formed with Van Landen and Holden Albright, and the production team, and Chrissy and Shelly, my tag team partner, and Brian. Like, it's just so great. It's so great to get up there for a few hours and just escape from the world and have fun, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is too. And we're all friends outside of, like, we've got our chat groups where so one of us will just give me your top 10 list on this. What do you think of this? What do you think of that? Like, and we're just friends too, so it helps.
So what do you think the biggest thing and the biggest thing that you've learned running a wrestling promotion over the 10 years ago? If you could talk to Shawn Gibson from 10 years ago and say, all right, if you do this, it's going to make life a lot easier for you.
I think two things, and I'm going to say it, and I'm still not going to listen to myself. But one of the things is let don't I think maybe the first 7 years, like I was I had to do it right, not a demanding way, but just I'm not a very trusting person to begin with. So but I should take my hands off. And a good example is this Rush Hour show that you and Mike Jeffries do. Take my hands off it, it's fine. Like you guys, more than fine. I think that's one thing is trust your crew. It's not as many minds as you can have an idea or a story or a fan experience. That's worth it. The other thing is, and a couple of the guys, if they listen to this, they're going to laugh. But Jeff Black told me this a long time ago. But he said, like, just don't worry about everybody else. Don't worry about some other promotion. Don't worry about, like, somebody does a show and they're being praised and the fans are praising them and the wrestlers are praising them, and you think, oh, I got a show in 3 weeks. Well, I got to do what they did. No, man. There are two things to that. One, just keep doing what you're doing, and it'll be fine. And two, of course, fans and talent are, pumping up the show that they're just at. They're excited. They're happy. It was a good show. Just watch yourself. Just if someone was starting tomorrow, that's what I'd say. I would actually tell them, don't follow any other promotions on social media for the first little while. Just do your own thing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually pretty good advice. I wouldn't think about that because you're going to get in your own head now, right? And you can second guess things and change your vision a little bit, right?
Absolutely. And that's, you start doing things on the fly, making decisions on the fly because somewhere else did it or somebody else did it and you thought it was cool. Like, just stick to your own plan.
So there's these great video series going on right now on our Instagram and YouTube pages at Barrie Wrestling, and full credit to Mike Jeffries for putting these together. Yeah. He's phenomenal. But he asked a couple questions, and I'd like to hear some of your answers for this. He asked, what is your favorite moment or moments with Barrie Wrestling?
My favorite moment or moments, an in-ring moment was the Von Vertigo winning the title. It was a story we were telling for a little while. It was the first story I was really stern with, that I was like, no, we got to do this, and the only reason it happened quicker was because Vertigo he made it happen so much better. It happened so much faster. So as an in-ring moment, that one, I think as far as other moments or another moment, it's just our Canada Day shows. The after effect, the Canada Day shows that were started as how to promote us into the community, and we still do that. But now it's more of a who's coming and how quick are we getting over to Donald? Go downtown and hang out. So that's my thought. Is the after party of a Canada Day is amazing, and I look so forward to it every year.
Donnelly's probably has pictures of Shiloh and Kyle on the wall saying. So the other thing that Mike Jeffries has been asking the talent in these videos is what makes Barrie Wrestling so special to them. And I think this is very interesting to hear from your point of view because you look at it a lot differently than the talent, obviously.
I think it's I know that the talent have been saying, some of the talent have been saying that it's the personal feeling from management and my connection to the community or the that kind of side of it. But I think it's the fact that the talent have believed in us from day one. Like they push things not to better their spot, but to better the whole company. Like Vertigo and Brian Weiss, and then Mike Jeffries, and then yourself and other talent on the way were like, we got to get production. And it wasn't because they were like, oh, I want my face shown every week. There are other promotions that do it. They didn't need that. But it's how much they're invested in what we do and that they want the company to be better. And so they go out of their way to make it better. So it's how invested they are and how loyal they are to Barrie Wrestling.
Yeah, you can definitely feel that as well.
Oh, for sure.
So we've talked about a lot of the, positive moments, but let's talk about some of the more fun and maybe not the greatest moments ever, but what is the I don't want to use the word like maddest or angriest, but what is like the most stressed out or maybe pissed off that you've been during a show for something that maybe happened in the ring that wasn't supposed to or something that you can tell on air at
You know
least?
what? You know what? I'll tell it, because if I don't tell it, Jim will be like, "You chickened out." Um, there was and I won't go into like exact detail because this involves another wrestler, but I was, in the early parts of Barrie Wrestling, I was going through stuff. Me and Amanda just started kind of dating, but I was going through divorce, and so you're kind of tense. And I was a particular weekend, I think it was, I was tense about something, and I had told like Shelly and Jim and them not to announce somebody a certain way, and I think it just got lost in translation, and like just because we're doing this, it's a 10-year like open book. I think there was a whole thing with my ex being how some exes can be, and I was already pent up, and then I had other people not listening and not cooperating as I saw it. And so there was this big blow up, and it was over something very stupid. But I remember Jim Lowe, because he's a very loyal guy, um, loyal to me, loyal to friends, but he was being loyal to Shelly, and Jim walking out, and I was gonna get Doug to do the announcing because I had dug in. I'm like, well, fine, go, but it all sorted out really quick. And then we all talked, and it was just one of those things where I explained, like, guys, I'm going through something. I snapped. I'm sorry. I didn't even scream and yell. It wasn't a huge, but it was just a really tense moment. And again, I tell it because if I don't, Jim's gonna be like, you chickened out. So it was such a where now Jim will now and then make a joke about that wrestler who's not with us, and they're not even wrestling anymore. But he'll say, like, should I announce them like this? And I'm like, don't start with me, Jim. Don't, like, but yeah, it was a funny moment. You know what else? I'm going to tell you another story too, just because I like this story. I think it's good. So we did that Hustle brand thing for 2 shows. And the first one we did, no production. We had no production yet on anything. And Mike Jeffries had just started with us. And Mike Jeffries does a lot of like wrestling for us, right? But he does hockey. He's a guy. He wants to do this, right? So after the Hustle Brand show, which should have been filmed, like it should have been filmed. We should have that footage, but I just didn't have. I'm a very cautious person budget-wise. So Jeffries, Mike Jeffries, whatever you want to call him, he sent me a message. I hope I'm not betraying his trust, because I think it worked. It shows his character too, in a good way. He kind of said, like, he's getting married too and all this, but Barrie Wrestling wasn't getting to where he thought it was going to be, and he was going to take a step out. So of course, I think Jim, knowing me right away, I was like, well then F you, you're out. Like, I was like, then yeah, no problem, man. And I was like, never going to have Mike Jeffries. Like, it was just like, you've betrayed me. I like loyalty and you don't have it. Jim was so funny because he knows how I am. So instead of saying you're acting like an idiot, right? He gauged my temperament, was like, no, fair enough. Yeah, it's one to think about. Like, he stayed and then gradually chipped away, And then Mike Jeffries was great. I supported him on Twitter, like his posts and all that. And then when it came time for footage, the COVID ended, and it was time to, we hired Alan and his team. And I thought, I need a commentary team. And I wasn't mad at Mike Jeffries anymore, but I'm a very stubborn person. So I was like, well, I can't use Mike Jeffries. And when Jim said, I'd kind of like to do commentary, I just need a play-by-play guy. And very subtly went, I know you won't use Mike Jeffries, but he'd be the greatest option, but somebody else. And I knew what Jim was doing. And even at my most stubborn, I was like, I am not wasting the opportunity to have Mike Jeffries and Jim Lowe on commentary, because they are the absolute best. So yeah, Mike Jeffries pissed me off way back, but it was, me being stubborn and digging in, but he was right. Why would I waste my time with this? And he wished us well. It wasn't a bad conversation, but he was just he's dedicated to what he wants to do, and he's very, very good at it. And that's another piece of the puzzle that made us better, for sure.
I now think that he'll be happy to have a recording of Shawn Gibson saying he was right.
Are we editing this now?
There,
We edit this now. No problem.
there you go, Mike Jeffries. That is my early birthday, Christmas, whatever gift that you want. That's for you, my friend. Let's talk about some of the talent that's come through Barrie Wrestling, because I mean, if you really take a look back, this was kind of the place where guys that you see on television, guys and girls, I should say, that you see on television weekly now, broke in. A lot of them, Daniel Garcia had some of his greatest early matches in Barrie. Jody Threat, who we're going to see on November the 2nd, really kind of found her way, and I know she considers Barrie to be her home promotion. And even guys that they might not have, started out in Barrie, but are really well associated with it, like a Josh Alexander. And now even on the Ontario side of things, when we get guys like Judas Icarus coming over, some of their first Ontario bookings were over here with us. So when you take a step back and think about some of those names, and I'm sure I'm missing some because I'm only 4 years in with Barrie, but when you take a step back and look at some of those names, like, do you ever have like an oh shit, like that's a really cool moment?
I do, man. I do. I think mainly of Garcia and Jody. I mean, I can't remember how many men had before he came to us, but it wasn't a lot at all. Like, I want to say 10. I could be wrong. And Jody was, doing ring crew and helping. Last time Jody was here not long ago, she still did ring crew. She did. But I do, man. I do. And I think that's part of what a promotion needs to do. I think if you're a local indie promotion, a lot of these guys have illusions of grandeur. They're going to be the next big thing, brother. And no, you're not, man. You're not. Just get this talent enough reps that they can move on to TV or something else, like, Europe or wherever. But it is amazing to see. It's a really cool aspect of it to look back and see. And you say Garcia, and I've said this all along. It's not having the footage of Garcia in some of the matches he had is the biggest regret I have as far as footage goes. And I always say it, but another aspect of why we got the footage we have is because I want footage of young Jay Lee, because he's sky's the limit for him. Mm-hmm. So we've got that footage, but yeah, it's really cool to see people succeeding, like Jody getting where she's going. And like you said with Josh, it's a really cool thing too, because it'll be still a big deal. I will announce it. Josh will be here December 7th for our Christmas show. And I had said to Josh, hey man, like, because Josh is swamped, man. Like, he's got a lot of stuff going on. He's got none of us know what's going to happen in February, for him when he has a free agent, I guess, or maybe he's resigned. I don't know. But I said, look, man, I know you're busy, so if you've got to, let me know if you got to pull off. Like, there's no heat, like, because you've got these different things you got to do. And he got back right away. He's like, not a chance, man. He's like, I want to stop by for sure. So awesome. That was really nice to hear. And that's just who Josh is. Josh, man, he's the best. Well,
so you did just say that Josh is coming in, and you mentioned a name before that, Myung Jae Lee. I'm just manifesting it out there for the world. I think that sounds like a pretty awesome match. I'm just gonna leave it at that. And
the attempted murder match. Like, those guys would beat the hell out of each other. That'd be something, eh?
Yeah, and like, talking about Myung Jae Lee, like, it's so incredible because he really has this incredible run in Barrie Wrestling so far. Yeah, like, almost pretty much every time he's in the ring, it's the match of the night or really close to it, and that's saying something because of how talented everyone in Barrie is. But to me, the scary part about him is I don't think we've seen the best of him yet.
No, I don't think so either.
And that's crazy.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Like, not only on the indies as a whole, but like when he steps it up into a next realm, I think everyone's going to see how great he is. I really think he's among the best on the indies. He's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm. Unbelievable. I agree. And especially because we haven't really got him like going as a heel yet. Like, he's just kind of like dabbling and getting the feel for it. And I think once that turns over, I think it's going to be another incredible run we're in from him.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about Brad Myers a little bit. 'Cause
I'll talk about Brad all day.
that guy's awesome, man. He is so good at what he does.
He is so good, period. Like he's so I think if someone did ask me this, what did they how they worded it, but I said basically the most important person in Ontario is Brad Myers. There's talent. Like I think of Gabriel Fuerza and Vertigo, like that's talent. Um, but and they'll help your show. This may come out wrong. I think they know what I mean when I say this.
Hmm.
But Brad is the person that'll keep your show together. He's in the ring. He knows what he's doing. He's in the locker room. He knows what he's doing. Um, he's trustworthy, and he's turned into a great friend. Like him and I have similar beliefs in some things, and we talked about that with each other. He's my therapist, him and Fuerza, but sometimes I need to talk and I can talk to him and he'll help right away. And he's just a good, good person. Like, and that's just it. And it's never changed, right? Like, yeah, he's the best, man. He's the best.
He has been so helpful to me, and he probably doesn't even know that he's doing it, which is the craziest part.
Yeah.
But like even just like little things that he'll come by and say to me in the ring about if I don't know something's coming, maybe, or positioning, or the like one of my highlights of ring announcing so far was on one of the Canada Day shows, and I'll never forget it and I think it was just something so meaningless to him, but so important to me. And maybe I shouldn't say meaningless, like that's not the right way to put
Yeah.
it, but it was Van Landen against Jake O'Reilly on Canada Day. And I think that's when people first started noticing my Van Landen entrance that I do.
Right.
And Brad walked by me after, and you would never know. And he just walked by and went, "You're getting really fucking good at this, man." And to get like to get a compliment from somebody that I look up to, like Brad,
Yeah.
that was like it meant the world to me. And he just
Yeah.
like these little things that he'll just say to me that I just try to soak it in, and I don't think he's even realizing that he's teaching. It's pretty
Yeah.
incredible.
It is, man. And it's just, whether it's wrestling, like he'll pitch ideas or he'll be very consistent with if he thinks something's not right or something's wrong but it never turns into an argument, right? Like he'll be like, I'm telling you, you're wrong here, man. Like I feel you're wrong. But when you're right, like, he doesn't do it just to debate. Like when you're right, you're right. He's like, yeah, don't touch that. Leave that alone. Like, yeah, he's just a great person.
How important to Barrie Wrestling is Gabriel Fuerza and Von Vertigo?
They're the most important. They're the first match we ever had. Um, when I look at the history of Barrie Wrestling, they're intertwined in everything. And they went from these two young kids who didn't like to talk, to now talking, like feeling when they have to speak, they speak, right? Like Forrest is taking a real leadership role. And Vertigo would too. He wants Europe, right? Like he's always pushing that way. So, but he would too. He's been in Europe or somewhere else and not on a show and messaged and said, I heard this went well, or hey, if you're still doing this, you should try to do this to it. Like he's not even on the show that week, or that month. But they're, I'm 47, so I'm way older than them, but, and they'll just laugh, but I get emotional, like I cry about it, but I get emotional thinking of them because those are two friendships, like to me, those are two guys that went from just starting out, just wrestling. I know I'm a promoter, you're a wrestler, to, I mean, I can't remember what year it was, but like Fuerza and his dad had Christmas dinner with us, one year. Like, and I say that just to say, like, that's what it is like, but yeah, they're as important as it gets, from the ideas they share to what they do in the ring, to the honesty they give. And there's been debates or arguments maybe, but they always end like with an understanding. Friends argue, so that might happen, but it always ends on a nice note. And yeah, they're super important. And what they're doing in Ontario and beyond, like, Fuerza training all these kids that are coming up. You can almost see this batch of a gap. And I'm not saying that the previous training kids were not good. I don't mean like that, but there's this gap of these kids that are learning now, and it's like, holy smokes, like where'd you train? They're like, oh, where's the Greed and Saber and Wheeler? Like, it's this unbelievable training that's going on right
It's
now.
kind of like even though they're like in their first couple years, it feels like with that training, they're in like year 5 and 6 already. It like developed that
Absolutely.
fast, right?
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
I'll give a shout out to a tag team. KPK have really blown me
Unreal.
away. And Rashawn Husher
Unreal.
as well. All three
Yep.
of them have really found a place in Barrie for sure. So
Yeah.
Fuerza and Vertigo, they were the first match ever in Barrie Wrestling.
Yeah.
When you're booking for the 10 years show, does a part of you just want to book that match again from a sentimental standpoint? I know Mike and I have talked about that, and we were talking about that the other day about, oh, I wonder like if that thought ever happened, or like how do you find the balance between nostalgia and you still have, you still got to do your monthly shows, right?
Last year, I want to say last year at the November show, or maybe it was December, they both, we were standing in the back and just shooting the breeze. And I think it was Vertigo's like, we're facing each other in a year, aren't we? Like they knew. And I'm like, oh yeah, we're doing that match. Um, and I think that was the match. I think that was going to be the opening match for this weekend or for November 2nd, up until a few weeks ago when I was like, we've got a show to do that, other stories are being told and this is happening. And this story, it just, as much as we'd like to do it, it's not the story. It doesn't make sense. And, um, yeah, and it's been done by us 1,000 times, and I'm sure they will wrestle each other again. But to force it, it just doesn't make sense. But it was just up to a few weeks ago that was actually the match that was going to happen to open the card. But yeah, nostalgia I'm a big nostalgia person, right? Like I'm a sentimental guy, and I'm nostalgic, and um, it's it would have been great, but it'll happen another time for sure. I'm positive.
Let's talk about one of my favorite moments in Barrie Wrestling, and that is the wedding of Kyle and Shiloh. Uh, what a night that was.
What a night!
How
That was the crazy. Like, if there was 5 months of planning, that was the craziest 10 years of my life. That was,
the
yeah,
way that came together, and then to follow it up with like one of the best matches in Barrie Wrestling history with Cake on the mat is just absolutely hilarious and
yeah,
unbelievable. But Kyle and Shiloh are so fun to be around, and they're so fun to work with.
yeah,
There's some of my favorite moments, but like, how does this wedding idea come about, and what are you thinking? Because there's some moments in Barrie Wrestling where we can take a step back and go, that was some crazy, weird stuff, and I'll take the Wild Rovers and the Christmas matches, and they're my
yeah.
favorite things that we do. Where's the balance here of,
Right.
Sober Sips matches and Psycho Mikes and Ricky and Stratospheres and then having like the serious wrestling aspect? How do you balance all of that?
So this is you saying, how did the wedding come together, or how did that? This is where there's a few people that were in the back and in messages turning up their volume, going, "How honest is he going to be in this podcast?" So the truth is, I'll touch on that, and I'll tell you about the other side of it. The truth on the wedding is around the time that we were going to do it, um, I had the idea for it, like this would be great. And then I was moving, I was starting my new job, which was stress, like just a ton of stuff. And then coming back to messages and realizing I didn't oversee, it went off the rails. So, you know, if you have like a match between two guys, it's usually the promoter and the two guys talking. So you've got three different opinions. Now we've got 30 opinions. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I did not, and that was, a lot of what I kind of wanted from it, like a little bit, but that was me being stuck. That was me, and I think this is the part that I hope people think is good. Is that's where Brad, and I'll pull the blinds back a bit. That's where Brad Fuerza and Shiloh and Kyle as well said, like, we're putting the train back on the rails. Like we've got to put this back on the rails, and it was just, Fuerza especially was like, taking this out, we're taking this out, we're taking this out. Like it was just because I needed that, because I got lost in it. And I was like, and I'm always I don't like telling people no a lot. I will, but I don't like it. Um, but there was so many great ideas in that too. Like, Ricky and Puffer in there, they're creative. their creativity is second to none. Like, so there was a lot of great, but no matter how I've got to be I'm going to be the quarterback of that, right? Sorry, Tyler. A quarterback is a player that
Okay,
will. Yeah,
easy,
sorry.
easy.
I forgot you're a Bengals fan. No, but that was them. They really helped that out. That's where I stepped back and said, okay, I'll come back into this conversation when you need me. Um, and it was funny because the whole thing was I wanted to give a surprise to Brad because he was getting married the next month. So I wanted it to be this big surprise. And so we've joked before about how it went from being this surprise for Brad to him booking it, to helping him helping book it. So it's just a funny, but it came across, it was great. Like anybody who's like, man, how'd you guys pull that off? I'm like, I was screeching and grinding to a halt. That's how we pulled it off. As far as the other stuff, like the craziness and you know, you've got to reel it in sometimes, and you got to save it too, right? Like you've got to be able to save those moments because you could do the Ricky antics every month, but the fans are going to get tired of it. So you've got to pull it back. Uh, I just want to tell this story because I think it's funny. But when we were in COVID and we were filming shows, no fans, just filming. I got to the venue. I was at the venue, but I was out and I came in, and it was the one. It was the Christmas one because Ricky was. Um, he kind of took the lead on that, right? Shane Saber was there, and he was, I think, dressed as Jesus, or he looked like Jesus, or he because of the beard look. And I went into the chapel area that we were in because we had everybody separated. And Saber's like, "Hey, did you get the script?" And I laughed. I thought he was joking. I'm like, "Yeah, script." He's like, "No, there's a script." And he handed me the script. It was like 4 pages that Ricky had done up. And I'm like, "Oh wow, this is great." Shane's like, "Go to page 4." So I go to page 4, and page 4 is that Ricky was gonna take Saber and on the stage, which is where the pastor preaches from on Sundays, and he was going to sacrifice him with like fake blood and all that. And I was like, oh man. So I go to the back, and Ricky and his partner, they're setting up, Rachel, they're setting up everything. And he's like, "Hey boss, how you doing?" And I was like, "Not bad, man." And it was all one motion. He's just doing this thing with the boxes. And I'm like, "Hey man, can I talk to you about the script?" And he just turns around. He's like, "It's page 4, isn't it? I can take that right out. Don't worry." Like he knew right away. And I still to this day laugh. I wish I filmed it. It was so natural. He's like, "Yeah, I was just testing the boundaries there. We'll take that right out. I don't need to sacrifice anybody on the stage. Maybe I can sacrifice him near the ring." And I'm like, "We'll figure it out." But
That
yeah, you got
might
to reel
be
it in.
that might
Yeah,
be the most Ricky thing I've ever heard in my
it
entire
was the most Ricky thing ever said. But yeah, you've got to reel it in, and but that doesn't mean you can't do it later, right? Like, yeah, yeah. But the fun stuff like that, the crazy, that's what our fans like, right? Like we're family and family friendly kind of crowd. They like the zaniness.
Do you take a sense of pride as a promoter that you put together this product over the last 10 years? And I would say it's about 90% all Ontario talent that you use.
I do. There are times when we've used outside talent. I mean, the mystery show we used a
Yeah.
couple TNA guys, right? And so that was that. But um, I really I really enjoy that we don't have to go get name people to draw a crowd, right? It works for some people. That's great. One is you're blowing your budget and you're not paying guys, or you're ripping people off, or you're losing money yourself, or But the other aspect is now that you've brought somebody in, what are you doing next month? Because if it's lesser, then the fans aren't going to care. So you're eventually going to run out. You'll run dry, and then along the way, you're not investing in the local talent, or talent from the local indies. And so I really love that we do not have to put on. Fuerza has said it in his recent chat that Mike Jeffries did, but my buddy's been saying it forever. Is none of these fans come for particular wrestlers. They're glad they're seeing them. If Fuerza wasn't on a show, they'd ask where he is. Um, but they're not there to see. They're there for Barrie Wrestling. They're not there for a particular wrestler, and that's been proven over the years. There's guys that have come and gone, and we haven't lost fans over it at all.
Pulling taking away, the actual realness and the budgeting and if you could bring in any name on the planet just for Shawn Gibson that you've either been a fan of forever or that you're just really impressed by, and it's just this is what I would love to do in my dream world. What kind of names are we talking about that you would just like to be on your show?
I think for me, and I'll say like a non like because it would be the first. It's the first name, and he wouldn't even have to be on the show. I would just like to sit in the back with Arn Anderson and listen to him talk for 3 hours. He
Well, that's
was
because he's the greatest four
yeah
horsemen of all time.
greatest. I mean, I loved him like ever since I've been a wrestling fan. I've loved him. Um, I really like. I remember when Cody Rhodes was on the Indies. Like, and I know he's not now, clearly, but when he first did the Indies, I inquired, and like clearly above the budget we are able to run. But I really, really liked. I really liked him, and I thought he was the perfect because for our fans too, right? Like our fans, you know, I don't want to say any names, but like there might be an indie darling out there that if we announce them, our fans could care less. They wouldn't care at all. But if you said like Hacksaw Jim Duggan, they'd go crazy. And I thought that Cody Rhodes was the perfect mix. He was like this indie darling when he first came on that everybody in the indies was like, this is the best thing ever. But he was just WWE enough to grab the attention of the WWE fans, right? So he was a perfect one for a while. But um, yeah, that's a tough one. I'm a Bandito fan.
Yeah, yeah, all
I
right.
really like Bandito. I think he's fantastic, and Matt Cardona, who out of the realm of out of the realm of ours, just simply based on the venue. Like if we had a bigger venue, which we might try down the road here and there, it might be an option, but it's not an option for our building.
Fair, fair. So the last couple questions I want to ask you here as we start to bring it home. If you were to talk to somebody who's never watched Barrie Wrestling before and you had to suggest a couple of matches to really kind of get them into what we're all about up there, what are you suggesting to them to watch?
I would suggest, um, I think Fuerza and Reverso in the cage. Just because even a casual fan knows that a cage match is a big deal, right? So I would suggest Fuerza and Reverse. So I'd suggest Alexia and Trent,
Hmm.
based on my God, we've all said it. I remember going to the back and seeing Jim, and Jim was like, that was art. And he said that to me. I said it to like Jeffrey. Like we've all called that match art. Um, I think anything involving Ricky. Um, I think Ricky and Puff in December, the first show we ever filmed with Alan's team, the Christmas Death Match, was the epitome of what we like. It's the craziest, stupidest, you know. And then even if we had the great footage, we have it is online somewhere, but Hacker and Kevin Blackwood on the Christmas show. Um, I really would mix it up with the craziness and the fun that we do, but to have the athleticism in there as well, because you've got to have that. Like you've got it because the craziness will grab the casual fan, but they might leave thinking, "Well, that was a little goofy. That was funny, right? That was okay." But you want them to see like the whole thing. You want them to see the athleticism of these guys, right? Um, any match with Mark Wheeler in it, Mark doesn't get enough credit either because he started like whereas in Vertigo, we're here from day one. Um, and Mark came a little bit later, but he's basically he's an original, like and he's another guy that's helped on conversations and phone calls and openness and friendship, and we've had very meaningful heart to hearts. And he's Mark Wheeler's a very underrated person in this province. He's training kids the right way,
Hmm.
and looks like $1 million. And is a sweetheart of a guy too. Yeah.
He really is. He really is. And like right before he got hurt too, the string of matches that he was putting on, where we were
Unreal.
bringing in, like the Vinny Pacificos and the Mortars and like that little run that he went on, it was
Yeah.
like unbelievable. He would have been a shoo-in for rest of the year for me, I think, if had he
Yeah.
not got hurt that year. He couldn't agree with you
Oh,
more. And what a great guy, like you said.
great guy. And I don't like to give this guy credit because he's a jerk, but Clay Wilson, when Clay was helping doing ring crew and everything before he got an attitude. And he wasn't impressing anybody when he was doing ring crew. But when he did ring crew, I remember he came to our the closed session during COVID, and I'd not seen him work. I didn't even know he was greenlit. I didn't know, right? And there was like, no, 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 he's good to go. And I remember there were no fans there, man. Like there were no fans, and he was being Clay. And I remember saying to Holden Albright, who's also helped this company huge, um, I'm like, that guy's gonna be the most hated guy in Barrie Wrestling history. Like we're gonna book him, and when these doors open and the fans are here, they're gonna hate him like crazy. And he's had heat since the day he walked in. Um, really good at his craft. Like he takes it seriously, and it shows. He's really good at his craft. Um, and I'll just say, I know you didn't ask this, but I gotta say, I know we've talked about them, but Shiloh and Kyle, I am so protective of them. I don't know why. I don't even know why I say it like that, but they are the I love them to death. I just love them. Yeah.
They are definitely by far two of my favorite people. I look
Yeah.
forward to seeing like I look forward to seeing everybody, but I
Yeah.
specifically really love having conversations with them and Kyle, and they've been so open with me about, just letting me do something small with them.
Yep.
Like when they lit the belt on fire, like that was
Yeah.
fun to do. And the little things, like Kyle just tries to throw little things at me to get me in the ring. Like
Yeah.
he'll hit me in the back of the head randomly, and I don't know that's coming. And what the hell? Or he'll throw the belts down and make me put them on his shoulders. Like he's just so naturally
Oh yeah.
talented, and to see this like little transition of the whole royal family now, and the face turn of Kyle Boone, like everything you just said about
Oh
Clay,
yeah.
you could flip that, and Kyle,
Good.
it's crazy how they're getting behind him now.
It is. That royal family, like I don't, and it's not a shot, but none of us had Musso on our bingo card as being like the biggest face in Barrie. And like he needs to have more chances in other places. And Grizzly, I said Brad's the MVP of Ontario. You can put Grizz up there too. He's helping promotions like nobody's business, and he's helped ours a huge. And so that whole Royal Family bit is just it's fantastic.
Well, and they're all going to be in action. Well, not Kyle and Shiloh, but the rest of them will be in action. You got young Jay Lee and Musso going to be going one-on-one, which I know is a big match for both of them.
Yeah,
We got the big Survivor Series tag match
yeah.
with Ricky's Rowdies. I did like that throwback. Very happy about that against Clay's henchmen. Big, big, big match there. So I'm excited for it. I love a good old-fashioned Survivor Series
Oh
match,
yeah,
and I think it's going to be a great show this weekend. There's going to be a lot of
I
great
think so
talent.
too.
Jody
Yeah,
Threat,
I'm
you know.
excited. I'm excited. I'm really excited about it. And you know, 10 years. I'm already a sentimental guy, but really looking back on on everything that's happened over 10 years. I mean, and I don't think too. I get asked a lot. What was your favorite moment? And I'll say it. They're like, oh no, that I meant like your in ring moment, but because all my favorite moments are not in the ring. It's fans that had a kid halfway through, and the kids are now coming to the shows. It's the parents whose kids aren't coming with them anymore, but they keep telling me and Amanda how their kids are doing in college, and um, Jim Lowe, Jim and I are such great friends. We've cried with each other. We've laughed with it's we're good friends, and that started because of wrestling. We didn't know each other until the wrestling, right? So, um, yeah, it's going to be a really special night for sure.
Well, I know this will be easier said than done because I've seen Showday Shawn in action firsthand, but hopefully you can take a couple minutes and take a step back and just admire and have that moment of this is really cool because I'm definitely going to try to do the same thing and I've only been there for 4 years. So hopefully this is going to be a nice night for you and you can look back and just have a big smile on your face and enjoy the show for most of the night.
Absolutely, I hope so too. And I shouldn't even started doing this, but I need to throw. I'm going to say John Green helped this company. John Green was the man before, like him, Chris Tidwell, and Custom. Like there's no like the Bear and I mean those guys. What they did for here is crazy, And Rage. Someone asks me who is we were well not someone. Jim and Mike Jeffries and I were talking about it. And I don't know if you were in the thread, but they were like, who's the most important? Like who's it's hard to say who the most important is, but I don't think we get to where we are that quickly, at least without Rage. Rest in peace. But Rage was just he looked like the wrestler that our fans grew up with, right? He was larger than life. The kids were blown away at his muscles. And the first time I did Rogers, I had two wrestlers on who not really camera guys, right? They're in-ring perform. They were good at the in-ring stuff. And the next time I said to Rob, I said, "Hey, can you come up to Rogers? We're on there. We used to go on Daytime Simcoe or whatever it's called." He said, "Yeah, I'll come up. Just pump in the next show, right?" Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we're in the back, and he's just kind of calm talking, and he's putting like his elbow, he's putting gear on, and I'm telling him what to, this is what we're gonna get over, and he's like, yeah, he's really calm, and I'm like, man, what's gonna happen here? And we get out on the set, and they're talking, they're like, so you brought someone with you, and it was like winding him up in the back. He exploded out into character and was like larger than life, and he if there was an Ontario Wrestling Hall of Fame, he's a first balloter for sure.
Absolutely. I never had the pleasure to meet him, unfortunately. I hear nothing but great stories about
Yeah,
him.
he was a great um he was a great character for wrestling, a great wrestling character. Yeah.
So the last question I'll ask you then, and it's how, and for you, I think you can take this one in a different way than most. But you kind of just alluded to it when people ask you what are your favorite moments, and they're like, no, I meant in the ring. For you, Shawn Gibson as the promoter, after 10 years of doing this with Barrie Wrestling, when you look back at everything that you've done so far with the company and everything that's happened, whether it's in the ring, whether it's outside of the ring, what are some moments that are personally important to you that just make you smile when you think about them?
I think I think the aspect is kind of a weak answer, but that we're still here, like and the route that we took. Like the show, like it's the 10-year anniversary journey of a decade, and it's called Journey. The word journeys there's I'll tell you something not a lot of people know is that, and I think it's okay to say this, but when I took over from the last guy, he was started to talk to PWA 365, and he was gonna maybe get out or work with them, and I think they wanted to use Barrie as a territory, and there was all this little bit of talk. It didn't go anywhere, I suppose. I don't know what happened, but then I took over, and Eddie Osborne reached out to me and said, "Hey, man, I don't know if you know this, but we were going to do this." And there were these moments where I was like, maybe I should just let them take it over. Like I was going to do it, and I would help them out. And it was Amanda had said to me, because we knew we were friends before we got together, and she said, "You've been talking about this, and you've dreaming about this." Like, and I remember telling Eddie, I messaged him back, and I printed out the message the other day just so I had him. And they said, I'm gonna say no, man. Like, I really want to give this a shot. And with older promoters, he could have been like, "Well, too bad, brother. We're running it," or And he just said, "No problem. Enjoy the journey, man." And it was like the classiest thing, class act. And so the fact that started me off, um, and as far as the moments, I look at like what Fuerza does in the ring. I think a great moment, and I'll say an in-ring one, is when Fuerza wrestled. Was it Warriors of Wrestling? I think it was. And he wrestled the Viking, and
Yeah.
and we a bunch of us were downtown, and we went to Last Level Lounge there, and they put it on the screen for us, and we were going nuts. Like we were chanting and going stupid crazy. And I was taking video of it, taking photos, and I was like, "This is what it is, man. It's supporting each other." Like when I got into it, there were a couple promoters who reached out to me and said, talk about talent on our show, and they're like, they're going to do this and they're going to do that, and then they kind of went their own. They kind of got out of wrestling, and they went on Facebook and trashed wrestling. They're like, "Oh, it's a carny business. It's this, it's that." I'm like, man, what? I like. It's 10 years in, and I've had things happen where you're like, I hate that happened, but it's beautiful, man. Like it really is. And if you're not having fun or you're losing money show after show, get out. Like get out. What are you doing? It like serving your community. Moments, Canada Day, getting the Canada Day shows and being trusted with that because they know that we're going to do it right. We're not gonna bleed all over it. I mean, we weren't supposed to go all over downtown one year, but they did. But everybody loved it, and they even said that it was a pretty cool moment. Um, and as far as moments, that's up there. That moment was massive. But I think it's the moments of when you see our locker room and people are helping each other or they're joking around or one of my favorite things they do is recreating pictures. Like was it like Fuerza and Wheeler? I don't know. They took a photo like a few months ago, and then a couple of the young guys, like I think Abu and somebody else, took the same photo, like
Oh, that's funny.
just to match with them, like just that fun atmosphere in the back and in the with the fans. And I think those are some of my favorite moments when I stop and look at guys and be like, man, we're having a good time here. Like we're a good place to work. These are good people that make it a great place to work, or but I think choosing a moment, that's a tough one. But that Fuerza match where we were all downtown, that was special. Yeah, yeah. There's Vertigo winning the title. I know it's an in-ring thing, and I said it, but knowing the backstory with it, knowing all the things that went into it, um, was really and the wedding. Like that's a favorite moment, and not the wedding itself. Everybody coming together and saying, okay, and nobody ever did like Shawn, like because the truth is I got distracted with my personal life, and then other aspects of it, and there was no like you idiot. It was like, hey man, you're busy. Like let us help out, And it was as perfect as it could get. It was amazing. Um, and yeah, I can go all day. You guys, you and Mike Jeffries and Jim and Shelly and Brian, just contributing, like just loving it so much that you're contributing, right? Like, and wanting to help out no matter what, you know. Yeah, those are some of my moments, man. I think it's been fun the entire time, and we've got a long. We're gonna keep going, but um, I think it's those little moments outside that no one sees that that mean the most.
Absolutely. I think that summed it up, especially that Fuerza moment with you guys in the bar. I think that really
Yeah,
describes Barry in a nutshell. It's just that love, you know?
yeah, it was something else, man. He was really touched by it. He's not an emotional guy. He doesn't like to be an emotional guy, and but I know that meant a lot to him, and I always wonder how that goes, right? I always wonder these guys travel. I think that's the thing too with promoters. They're like, well, this guy, they're not committed. And, no, they're not committed to you. They have shows every weekend. Um, you don't own them, and I know that you know I've got my thoughts on how people work and where they work and stuff like that, but when they leave your building and they're going to Ottawa or they're coming back from Ottawa and they are together, like they're on the road together. You're a promoter, you're not. You're not part of their crew. You're just not. Like I know when they come, that doesn't mean I don't know. I know I'm friends with Brad. I know I'm friends with Fuerza and all. I know we're friends, but you're as hard as you try as a promoter, you were not in with them. So when you get that moment when they're sleeping in town, they got a hotel room and they're having a good time. Like they're genuinely away from some of the drama that can happen, um, and they just enjoy life and they enjoy being with you. If they don't want to hang out with you, that's a tell. Like if you're having a weekend show and they're like, yeah, we're just going out with each other. Yeah. When I get messages all night saying, are you coming down? Are you coming down? Are you coming down? And then I come down and I get home and I wake up in the morning and turn my phone on to like 41 messages of drunken texts. Uh, it's fun, right? Because it means that they trust you and they like you and you're all friends. And yeah, that's good stuff.
And I think it's a tale that we haven't got kicked out of downtown Barrie yet with having Shiloh and Kyle and Clay and all those guys running around Donnelly's like a bunch of maniacs.
Yeah, yeah, that they are something else on those nights, man. And I don't mean like, you know, what too is I don't know how to say this. It's so there's a landmark in town I'm not big on. And they went out of their way for a year, like from like Canada Day to Christmas to take photos in front of this landmark and try to sneak me into a photo with the landmark in the background, and then made a calendar out of it and gave it to me for Christmas. And I'm like, you jackasses. Like, I say that because I looked over and saw it there on the wall. But yeah, they are maniacs. There's a good crop. Like our locker room, that's. I know there's other great places, man. I get it. I get it. I know everybody thinks their locker room's the best, and yeah, no, I'll put our locker room against anybody.
Yeah, I think from top to bottom, and I'll put our commentary team, I'll put our photographer Brian, I'll put our ring keeper, and I think we got a pretty decent ring announcer too.
We got
So
a good ring announcer, man.
he doesn't know how to say
When,
championship, or he might get a
when,
whole down
when
wrong every.
Jim said when Jim was gonna do commentary, I kept thinking like, well, who the hell is gonna announce? And man, you stepped in huge. You know, it's huge what you've done. You're really, look, we're on IWTV and I've searched IWTV and people can say I'm biased. I get it for sure. But I challenge you to find a better ring commentary, like better commentary team. I challenge
100%.
you to find an announcer who's, as long as you've been doing it, is as good as you. There's guys out there who are great, been doing it for years. You stepped into that role like unbelievably. Shelly and Brian, like, Shelly and Brian were coming here before I was running it. Like they were helping the last guy. If I could clone Brian Weiss, I would. He's the most selfless person. He's there to help. I'll stay out of the way. Shelly will just, what do you need? She'll do it, and Brian Watson helping out, Hunter helping out with the ring crew and helping out around, like it's the team, man. And if people start bailing on you, if you're a promoter and you notice guys are bailing, talent's bailing, you're doing something wrong, man. If they're not helping you out, you're doing something wrong. So
I
I'm very
will.
lucky
I'll
because I got a
definitely.
lot of fault.
Yeah. I
I
was
got a lot
gonna.
of fault.
Well, it's just you can't help that you're a Steelers fan. Like you can't
Yeah,
help that. They're about
what am I
to.
crazy?
We're really hoping for the New York Giants to put up about 30 points for my fantasy football on their defense, so I can see because
They
George Kittle really
they might
stuck it to me last night. So you know what I
they
mean.
they might
But
put up 30. That just means we're putting up 45. So that's
you can
fine.
put up whatever. I don't care as long as that defense can get me a win, a much needed win against a good friend of mine in fantasy football this week. Go. I'm not a Giants fan by any means, but I need that defense. Let's hope Russell Wilson is the old Russell Wilson and not
Oh,
this
no, no,
whatever
no.
we saw last week from him. But that's a different
No.
podcast for a different day.
Yeah,
We're gonna have to bring you on for the football podcast and the Tragically Hip
you got it.
podcast in the future.
Love it.
And as
Love it.
on a personal note, I want to say too, first of all, my favorite thing next to living out one of my dreams in life is my friendship that I've gotten with Brian and Shelley, just to go on top,
Yeah,
and
sure.
the mentorness that Jim has given me, and
Yeah,
just getting to work with Mike Jeffries now, and like I always
yeah,
knew how talented he was just by
yeah,
listening to him, and the one show where I got thrown in doing commentary with him, and I'm not a good commentator by any means, but when I rewatched that show back and realized all the spots that he was just carrying, I didn't even know
yeah.
that he was like that guy is
He's
he's
so
stupid
good, man. Like,
talented.
yeah, and it's not just a wrestling thing. Like he's, anywhere he goes, hockey, lacrosse, whatever he's doing, like he's really good at his craft, really good at it.
Yeah, he's the best.
Being from Aurelia, right? Like the fact that he's from Aurelia and he's so good, that's something right there. I mean, that's something. But
I mean, there's an exception to every rule, right? Him and Van Landen are the diamonds in the rough over there, I guess, right? But it's been a pleasure to get to work with him with this rush hour thing. And on a personal note to you, Shawn, thank you for giving us the opportunity at Count It Out, not only, with the vendor and starting out with that partnership and now getting in the ring and, trying not to screw up too much every month. But that's
those
my
are the good parts, man.
that's my other favorite Brad moment is when I screwed up that entrance going for the Barrie Wrestling Heavyweight Champion. And I just hear Brad whisper in my ear, Chip. I was like, fuck.
It's a great moment. It was
Uh,
awesome for us because
but
fans, you know what? I think you guys that go in ring, and I put you as a talent. Like the talent is so hard on themselves, and you'll be hard on yourselves, and Jim's hard on Mike. But the fans don't know, man. They don't catch
they
it
don't know,
all the
man.
time.
Drives me
But we
nuts
see
though.
it. We like to break bust balls. But yeah, no,
Well,
it's been great with you guys. I'm very thankful for you. I really am, man. Like you stepped into this role. You fit the team. Filming those awards ceremonies last year was just the
that was
best.
fun.
It was just the best. I look forward to doing it again. And I think the only thing I regret with all of us is we don't get to hang. We don't hang out enough, and we're all in town. We got to make an effort to do that. But we've got busy lives. You're getting
Yeah,
married, like Jeffrey. He's in a really, like, yeah, it's crazy. It's
yeah.
uh, but yeah, it's good to see each other on show day for sure.
No, it's fun for sure. I can't wait. November the 2nd, this Saturday. 10 years of Barrie Wrestling. Unbelievable. Shawn, this has been a slice, man. This has been a pleasure. And I look forward to seeing you on the weekend, man. We're going to have a good time.
See you there, buddy.